at church one time about you or maybe your mom or somebody, you went outside your house maybe to go to the basement and you fell down praying or something like that. Is there a story like that?
Yeah, that's when the boys got burned.
Okay.
Yeah. No, that's when Cecil had that first heart attack. He was just 38. And I was just so burdened. And his brothers, he had two brothers that were in there. They came over after Cecil had the heart attack. And John Wes Cooper was there. And I went around the house. We had to go outside and around to the basement there to stoke the furnace. And I went around the house and before I got completely around, I just fell. And I was just so burdened, there I was with 4 children. Cecil, 38 years old, and he couldn't draw. He didn't have any insurance. He couldn't draw anything. There was nothing. And but that's another story. The Lord provided so well. But anyway, I just fell on my face there, and I just mourned and groaned, and I said, Lord, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to tell you, what to ask you. And the Lord, so sweet. He said, even though you don't have the words, even though you don't know what to say, he said, I hear the groans and the mourns that comes from your heart. Something that I couldn't tell. I couldn't speak it because I didn't have the words. But all I could do was just lay there on the ground and mourn and groan. And he said, I hear the groans and the mourns that comes from your heart. Oh, you talk about relief. That was relief, I tell you. To know that the Lord was listening to me, even I couldn't say what I needed. He knew what I needed.
Yeah.
And he still does. He still knows. And, sometimes our load kind of gets heavy, I guess. Most everybody goes through hard times, I'm sure. Dark times. And trying to find the light and to know what God would have us to do. And I say, Lord, help me to know what to do and how to do it. And help me to know what to say and how to say it. Because if the Lord doesn't give it, it's not worth much. And I thought I had these cousins. They were really, really good musicians, bluegrass. And they used to sing in the bars in Ohio. And after a while, though, they got out of that. But they were really good musicians. And they'd sing, and it was beautiful. But after a while, it just, I don't know, it just got kind of, maybe you'd say monotonous or something.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, it didn't bless.
Right.
Because the Lord wasn't in it. And that one cousin, he played the guitar. He played the piano, and he was very good with both of them. And the other one played a banjo, and he played a guitar and a mandolin. And they just had a good band. But after even they stopped doing the bluegrass, they sung in church quite a bit then. But after a while, it just, it don't feed you.
Yeah.
It's good singing, it's good music, and but it don't get down in your heart. But I thought maybe a little humble child of God, like Tommy Engel. You remember Tommy? He had a little song that he sang, and he wasn't a singer at all, but he had this one little song that he sang, and the Lord blessed in it. And the old preacher there at the church on Little Creek, he couldn't hardly carry a tune, but when the Lord would get a hold of him, he'd make an altar call, and he'd sing this one song, and the Lord would just bless in it, and folks come into the altar, and it doesn't matter if I've got a gift, and if I can use it, I want to do that. And nobody knows how many tears I've shed since I've lost my ability to sing, and it's hard sometimes for me to swallow. And I had that little procedure done. They went in there and stretched my esophagus, and I told the doctor then after that, I said, I still can't swallow, and very well. And I said, I can't even swallow a pill. And he just said, well, don't take pills. But anyway, he said what it was bone spurs in there. Was the reason that I don't have the voice to sing. But anyway, I would love to sing. I've done that all my life, and it's been such a disappointment that I can't. But I said one day I'll sing.
Yeah.
One day I'll be able to sing praises to the Lord Jesus for bringing me through this world and through this valley. If I never get to sing anymore here, I will after a while. I wrote that song, and it said, I know we'll sing together again in a heavenly choir where there is no pain. Our voices will blend in a sweeter refrain. What a wonderful sound when we sing again. And the Lord has blessed me in that different times, and it's given me hope somewhat concerning my boys, that they would get back in church and do. Of course, Doug, he's still going, but Bill and Steve, they don't go anymore. And Bill, he's got his voice about like mine. He can't. He sang me a song on my birthday, and a part of one. I know I might have told you that he sung that song. Yeah. And his voice, it's not like Bill.
Right.
But I pray the Lord will help them and help my boys to see their need to come to the Lord and be with us. And when Cecil was so sick and we didn't have a job, he didn't have insurance, he couldn't draw unemployment, and as far as we knew, we didn't have anything like that. But we never sat down to eat without a full table. People just, I don't know, it was just like money coming in different people just felt the Lord. And well, Cecil couldn't drive, and I drove us when he got able to go back to Little Creek. I'd drive us, and he would lay down in the seat, maybe with his head on my lap, and the children would be in the back. And but this one day we went over. It was on a Thursday, and Cecil, he got able to get out and stir around some, and he was on the outside of the church talking to some of the men that's out there. And I was still sitting in the car, and I was sitting there with my head down, trying to pray, and somebody knocked on the window. And I looked up, and this man was standing there, and I rolled the window down, and he said, Betty, he said, I felt like giving you a little piece of money. But before that, I counted up what my bills were, and I counted up $5 for groceries. Well, that don't sound like anything today, but back then, it was pretty good. And Cecil, I didn't want to say anything that would worry him. And I was back in the back, and I was praying, and I was crying. And Cecil come through, and he said, what's the matter, Bet? And I told him, I said, Cecil, I said, looks like I have to have $55. And I said, and I don't have the first one. And he just kind of patted me on the back, and he said, the Lord will make a way. And we went on to Little Creek, and that man said, Betty, I felt like giving you a little piece of money. And he just handed me an envelope. And I didn't look in it. You know, we started back home after service, and I maybe got it out and handed it to Cecil, and I told him that this man gave it to me. And he said, don't tell anybody where it come from except Cecil. Well, I couldn't, his name I couldn't tell. But
Do you need some more water?
he opened the envelope
Let me squeeze your
and
eyes
looked
here.
in, and there was a $50 bill. And I said I'd have to have 50. Well, I said, Lord, I can make it. I can make it. I said, we can eat what we've got. I won't have to have the $5 for groceries. And when Cecil asked me, and he come through there, and I was crying, and I said, Cecil, I've got enough flour in the house. I said, to make biscuits for my family one more time. That's all.
She's on the floor laying down there.
Well, like I said, we went on to church, and that night, that evening, and we come back over the mountain, and we stopped at Cecil's dad, and he come in. He said, "Here, Bet." He said, "Here's $5. Go get you a sack of flour."
Mm.
He didn't know that that's what I was out of.
Yeah.
And that made my $55. Well, we went on, come home, and my brother come to the door and come on in. He said, he called me Becky at the time. He said, Becky, he said, I felt like coming down and bringing you some money. What more could I ask? I mean, that meant more than if Cecil was bringing home a crane operator's check.
Right.
And another time, I had tried to save a little bit back here and a little bit back there, and we had that old coal furnace. And it come coal buying time. And I said, I've saved a little bit here and a little bit there, and maybe some change. I got enough together to buy a half a ton of coal. And at that time, it was $18 a ton. So I went up to my brother's house. We didn't have a phone at that time. And I went up there and asked him to use the phone. He said, yeah, go ahead. I said, I want to order me some coal. He said, Betty, he said, your coal's on the way. He had ordered me a ton of coal.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just like we were getting a paycheck. And, well, it was time for her tags to run out. At that time, tags in Tennessee were $18. And I said, Cecil, I said, we can go to church one more time. I said, our tags are running out. And I said, I don't have the money to get them. So I decided, we'd go as long as we could. And at that time, the mail didn't run over to the house in the hollow. And we had to go over to the highway to the mailbox. And I went over there and I had a letter in the box from Ohio. And in that letter was a $20 bill. I said, well, we can buy our tags. And I said, that'll leave $2 to buy gas. Well, in that time, gas maybe 35 cents a gallon. And so we got our tags. We had gas to go back to church. And it was just over and over. And one day he said, Matt said, how about we go down to Greenville tonight to church? He said, it seemed like I feel like I'd like to go. And I said, honey, we don't have the gas. I said, all I have, I said, I've got my children's lunch money for next week. And I said, I don't have any more. And he said, well, let's use it. He said, let's use the children's lunch money. He said, we'll borrow enough from your mom for the children's lunch. We went on to Greenville, had a good service. We sang, and they stood up to dismiss. And that preacher said, if anybody's got a piece of money you'd like to give to Brother and Sister Wilson, he said, just hand it to them. We got back our children's lunch money. Miracle after miracle. Provision. And like I said, not only the necessities, but all the other things that would make our life comfortable and help us and keep us going. And he just been there. And I sure appreciate the Lord, and I appreciate the prayers of God's people that have prayed for me and lifted my load, my burden so many times. And he just lets me know that he's there. He lets me know that he's taking care of me, and if there's anything that needs to be handled, he's big enough to handle it.
Good.
And if there's anything that needs to be said, he can say it, and he can help me to say it.
Yeah.